Well, rising family, once again, we are back. We are back doing a live update. Of course, I've not spoken to you all in months. Busy living life, getting my own stuff together. But of course, where we are in this moment in time, what a time to be alive. And of course, what a perfect time to make a new entry and discuss spirituality, mental health, consciousness, and of course, do so through the vehicle of celebrity because one of our icons, one of those to whom we look up to, one of those to whom we admonish, has done something so unusual that it literally has the whole world in a tizzy. Now, it's interesting, just a quick side note, because we have spirituality and folks in spirituality, they generally always do this thing where they're like, don't run behind celebrities. You shouldn't run behind celebrities. And we shouldn't we'll let the stars influence us and things of that nature. To a certain degree, I actually do agree. But also, I actually say that just like this video is being done, there's always something to learn from these quote unquote celebrities because these celebrities are nothing more than people, aka they are us. A part of the reason why we have such an attraction to them is because they actually represent certain parts of ourselves, our psyche, our lives, etc. And there's always something to learn, especially when things are done in the public sphere, because we operate in our own public sphere. We operate in our own level of community. We operate generally. No one operates in a vacuum within their own selves. There's always somebody watching. There's always somebody looking. There's always somebody assessing. And regardless if you like judgment or if you like being held accountable, whether you like that type of notion or not, regardless of such, watching a celebrity and seeing how they move can influence us for either good or bad, whether we follow them directly or we renounce whatever it is that they're doing. And so, as far as it is concerned in consciousness, also stars actually operate and occupy a certain space within consciousness that validates why everybody looks at them. For one, regardless of whatever work they may have or have not done, whatever type of gematria and all of that type of stuff that lines up on their life and blah, 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 those people are resonant of a star in their beam of light or their beam of consciousness. It comes down to the earth, just like yours does. And so the space that they occupy is a part of the larger collective of attraction, a larger collective of energy that is a big wavelength that we all can tap into. And so when folks say, oh, don't watch the stars, don't watch celebrities, I say, well, why not? Because as we see, when something big enough happens, everybody has to talk about it because it actually impacts life in an actual real way. And there's always something to learn. And so for this video, just taking an opportunity, once again, to bring it all the way back to the same central points that I always like to: meditation, healing, your personal growth, your spirituality, and operating from the core of your being. Because what we witness with this whole situation, again, let's leave behind the conspiracy theories and all of that dumb shit. When we get down to the crux of the matter, we are being invited once again to embrace love. We're being invited to embrace oneness. We're being invited to embrace the core of our being so we can live from that space. And for me anyway, as I look at this situation, this is another opportunity for us to unpack how many things affect us and take us out of being in the core of our being, and how we must deal with the futile expectations of our mundane life. Of course, we have our human life and we must go through the vehicle of our humanness and the human experience. But the biggest thing that we must always remember is that we are spiritual beings and that we are essentially more than our body. And in the process of remembering that we're more than our body, we have to be able to manage this remembrance through the stress of life, because the stress of life can unfortunately pull us out of that awareness, and we get drawn into the flesh and we think things only through the lens of that futile moment, and we forget that we're on a much larger journey. And so, in remembrance of that, we just have to take this for a hot, quick second and unpack some of the cultural things that really affect us. And yes, specifically black men and expectations. And I say this because the expectations that are put on black men in Western world, many of these expectations, unfortunately, they actually pull us away from being able to operate from the core of our being so we can be our absolute best selves. And no one really talks about that. At least no one really talks about it in the context of running a family, dealing with personal accountability, dealing with the public sphere, public image. But today we're going to tackle it for a few minutes. This is really just to say that we have to understand in our community, of course, our community has been poked and prodded, and it's been sent up the creek, basically, and designed to fail as much as possible. Now, for those who understand the larger notion, part of the reason why it's made to fail is simply because, in the same notion that I said, part of this failure that we're experiencing is because we're actually not supposed to be embracing our humanness to the fullest extent. We are supposed to be embracing our spiritual self. We're supposed to be embracing the intentions of what's going on the hidden part of life. And as we continue to move forward in that direction, if we do so, a lot of things that we find ourselves running into will take us out of the general notion of what a basic expectation is. I'm kind of dotting around it, but I'll speak on it directly from some of the people who I counsel. I've counseled multiple married men, or men who are engaged, or men who simply have women in their lives that they take rightful claim over and protect and do all of these things that the narratives are running right now, saying who does or does not protect this or that. And I have to say, just being completely honest, the confessions of the men that I deal with who openly deal with these expectations, who do not buffer or shy away from the expectations given to them, they all say the same thing. That these expectations, that these desires that need to be met, they're basically spirit crushing. They're basically taking them out of their normal state of being, their peaceful state of being, and they're being pushed to start worrying and are focusing and are doing things that are not a part of their character. And because they're not a part of their character and being elevated to such a position of importance, now someone is being pulled and stretched away from their core. And so we have to really talk about this, because just as far as the spiritual community is concerned, if we really take a look at it, everything, or let me not say that, the majority of things that we encounter are very, very either women focused, women influenced, or women are the general participants. We go look at the church, it's something like 65-70% membership is women. You check out yoga communities, it gets even higher. You check out meditation communities, there's virtually no brothers existing in those spaces at all. You do healing circles, check out retreats, hear about these different events that take place, yada, yada, yada. You'll see that there are mostly women doing these works, or joining these groups, are working on their quote unquote self-improvement, things of that nature. Now, I will definitely say that it is definitely on the brothers, on the men to it is on the men to actually do their own work and do their part to make sure that they are honoring their spirit, elevating their spirit, cleansing themselves, etc. It's on y'all to come to these sessions. It's on y'all to join in on the yoga. It's on y'all to do, all of those things. But the biggest part that I have understood as to why men don't do those things is because we live within a culture that essentially gives them no incentive, no direction, and no desire to actually embrace the core of the being. If we run a fine-tooth comb through the expectations of men from just an early age, none of the expectations for us are actually designed to help us learn and be who and what we actually are. what type of life we're supposed to be living, how we're supposed to embrace our quote unquote manhood or our quote unquote masculinity. Nothing is actually designed for the self. It's designed for the actual empowerment of you, the individual. It is all designed for how you will eventually position yourself to serve somebody. And so, because of these expectations, because of this external affirmation for who you are supposed to be, most men subliminally download this direction and they never work on their actual true selves. They only work on what they can do in the world. The whole spiritual part of themselves is ignored, and they work on getting the bag. They work on getting secure. They work on getting more money. They work on either getting more women. It's always a working on getting more of, getting more of, getting more of. All of this getting more of is generally more of the 3D experience, more of the futile flesh, more of this secondary experience that is being fueled by our primary experience. And so because most of us, unfortunately, are directed to only live in that way, to only be that type of person, we find ourselves as a collective completely torn apart. If we're just being completely honest, let's just be sober about this. As far as the black male, I don't even just say image, as far as how the vast majority of black men carry themselves, it's very, very easy to see that many of us are spiritless, many of us are heartless, many of us have no emotional fortitude or emotional viability. Many of us do not have any deep intellectual capabilities. It's not there. Part of the reason why it's not there is because, again, this modern world does not want it to be done. It needs us to be mules. It needs us to be flesh bags. It needs us to not think deeply about our experience, about who we are, about what we are, about why we're here, about what we're doing and how we're going to keep doing it. It simply wants us to eat, sleep, be merry, repeat. And unfortunately, this worldly expectation that is given to us has infiltrated our own community. It has infiltrated the expectations of what a black man is supposed to be within his own community and within his own home. So when we talk about this, we got to be real sensitive, because this whole situation is showing a big divide in our own community for those who are embracing more of a spiritual perspective, who can see things from a larger narrative, and versus those who are looking at it from a very short, emotional, infantile perspective. I'm not finna put a man or woman on this and make it a gender war. But if we look at social media, if we look at Twitter, if we look at Instagram, if we look at the smattering of posts up and down, we definitely see that this is a divide. And in this divide, whatever there's a wedge planted somewhere in the earthly experience, that is a call or a reminder to look up, or shall I say look in, because a line is being drawn in the sand. It's always being drawn. It's continuously being rewritten. We're always being re-invited to embrace our ego, or we're being invited to further our soul and embrace our spirit. And that's what all of this is. That's what all of this is. We talk about conspiracy theory and protect black women and all this other stuff. All of those are futile human narratives that are not actually addressing the fact that you are to be operating from your own soul. And I put stress on that because, again, if we go back to the fateful moment of Will Smith and his wife and all of that loveliness, we all have seen it. Will's initial reaction, his true core, his true self-reaction was what? Laughter. But he walked out of the true core of himself, left that on the shelf, and he put on the expectations of those around him and made those things more paramount than his own being. And in the process of doing so, he has greatly embarrassed himself. He has disgraced the seminal moment of his whole career. If we step back from this whole protect black women narrative and remember the context of the situation that we were in, or we were watching, this moment was for him. This was the crowning achievement of 30 years of work. Now, I get too, as well, unfortunately, some people can't even wrap their mind around that because, so unfortunately, we live in a culture where people, uh, they don't have the fortitude or the dedication or the desire to dedicate themselves to anything like that, anything that long, to put yourself under that much, to just give that much effort in life. 2/3 of our community ain't doing that shit, and we know that. We know that for sure. We some lazy, egotistical motherfuckers. Excuse my English, not my French. But in the process of that, like I said before, it's showing who has the ability to understand the largeness of their own personhood. You were more than these infantile moments of emotional response. You are more than what the direction of someone else outside of you gives you and controls your own narrative. We all have all of us, Will, Jada, you, whomever, you have a space that you were supposed to operate in that is the true core to your own spirit, your own body, your own projection from the source as you show up in the moment. And the main goal for this human experience is to make sure that you honor that part of yourself and make that paramount at all times. Now, if you continue to do spiritual work, you continue to brush off on your aura, you continue to do ego death work, you will slowly begin to realize that emotional responses are not a part of your spirit. They are not a part of your soul. Emotional responses are tied to the flesh, to the 3D, to the worldly expectations that we are given. This chakra system that we have is a part of the infrastructure that you live in your environment. However you are prompted, however you are triggered, however you were raised, those are the things that make your chakras spin, and you have to do the work to make sure that your chakras spin evenly and not in a disproportionate place. And if you don't do that work, your spirit will always take a backseat to your ego. Your spirit will always take a backseat to somebody else's instruction. Your spirit will always take a backseat to somebody else's influence. Your spirit will always take a backseat. And you can apply this to anywhere in life. The vast majority of people are not operating in their prime job, in their prime career. Most people know they have a dream that they want to accomplish, that they haven't done, that they haven't touched. Most of us know that there's something we want to go do, but we're encapsulated by fear. Most of us won't go do something because the fear that we have comes from how people will look at us and the expectations given on us. And we can't go do that because I'm not a person who should be doing that because that's what other people outside of me say, or because I have XYZ circumstance going on, so now I cannot accomplish it. All of those things are the external responses for the futile body. And unfortunately, not unfortunately, we witnessed it at the highest level with this whole Will Smith debacle. We can talk about fleshly things and make it about protecting women. We can do fleshly things and talk about protecting family. Or we could talk about the trueness of the soul and the spirit. Because if we realize what's really going on, especially in our culture, especially with our brothers, we have to understand that the vast majority of us, I ain't even gonna stretch. I'm gonna just say 90% of us, we're not operating in full capacity. We're not. You know it. You know you're not. And the reason why you know you're not is because you can feel it in your gut. Your sun chakra, your solar plexus, the power source within your body, that is the thing that helps generate your personal movements so that you can operate out of your passions. By a show of hands, how many of us are living in our passion? By a show of hands, how many of us got the fortitude to go do that shit? By a show of hands, how many of us are not letting fear, not letting our logistical circumstance, not let our distractions, not let the woman or man, because this is about everybody, the woman or man in their life who's running them, who we got to check up on and make sure that they are okay. How many of us find ourselves on a day-to-day basis caught up in a situation that is preventing us from being authentic? because I'm going to swing it back around again. We saw what being fake was. We saw it right there in this moment. The shit was fake. Not say the moment itself was fake. Will Smith was fake. We saw that man laughing, and then we saw that man change and make a complete ass out of himself. And so we have to be very, very careful too as well, people, because another point about this is we got to be careful who we surround ourselves with in regards to us manifesting the life that is to the core of our soul. We all know that saying. We all know that saying. The people closest to us who hurt us the deepest. That is not no new saying. That is not a new saying whatsoever. A part of the reason why that saying is true, why someone so deep to us can hurt us the best, is because those are the people who can influence us and take us out of our core. So when we step out of our core and then some bullshit happens, the reason why we feel so bad is because the soul part of ourself is wagging a finger at you saying, you know better, you dumb motherfucker. Why were you operating through somebody else's vehicle? Why were you trying to live somebody else's life? Why were you trying to get approval from somebody else's expectations? That's why you feel so bad. It's not just because, oh, they hurt me. No, because you are embarrassed inside of yourself because you were not in your core. Again, let's go back to the same moment. What happened? Will Smith walked up there, slapped that fool, uncomfortably walked away. Again, if you just watch it, he was uncomfortable walking away, then uncomfortably doubled and tripled down with the cursing rant. And then what happened again? The real authentic Will Smith actually came back to the scene, and now he's crying crocodile tears. He's once again lowering the image of black men. He's once again being the staple of dysfunction. Once again, adding more onto his reputation of doing silly, weird shit. And to the people who actually think that what happened was a good thing, the proof is in the pudding. This man has no respect. If you're watching this video and you know you don't agree, or you be like, oh, he did the right thing, look at the consequence of his actions. Go check out that man's social media page. Every single picture that's on there, he is getting destroyed. He can't even go to his own fucking Instagram page because everybody's clowning him. He can't go to his Twitter because everybody's fucking clowning him. He can't do nothing. This man who's worth $100-something million on top of the world, have anything he wants, he now can't go into any regular public sphere unless it's checked and protected first, because there's gonna be people there that's literally gonna laugh in that man's face. This is a product, again, of what it means to not operate from the core of your being. And so to drive this point home culturally, because I'm not here to drive another wedge between black men and black women. We already do enough of that bullshit on social media. Enough of us are already caught up into unfortunately, the brainwashing and don't even fucking realize it. Well, all we do is fight amongst one another, thinking that we're trying to make a point. When really the point of the matter is, we have to make sure that, especially for the ladies, and this is not an attack on women, not in the slightest bit, but we have to understand that with this Western world, this modernity, it's designed to abuse you. It's designed to make you feel lower. It's designed to make you feel lack. It's designed to make you feel that you need something so that you could be normal. We live in a consumerist culture. Consumerism runs this culture. So in order for consumerism to exist and to propel, it has to be in the psyche of the vast majority of people's minds that they need something. That something outside of them is going to fix the fake void that they are told that they have. You need an additional stimulus. And so because of this culture and how they got this crap set up, it unfortunately takes full advantage of women. And again, this is not an attack. This is about anatomy. For those who know, and for those who don't know, this is a learning lesson. Women, in their chakra system, they're centered in their sacral chakra. Men, we're centered in the root chakra. Women are centered in their sacral chakra. They're centered in the passion section of the body. That's why they're so goddamn emotional. Nothing to be mad at, nothing to clown them for, something that we must accept and honor. And so again, this culture takes that and they desecrate the shit out of it. They take full advantage of the fact that they know that that people, regardless of gender, are going to be deeply affected. They're going to be deeply troubled. They're going to be deeply unrooted and unsettled when this culture says anything to them, because the culture already got you from 3, 4, 5 years old that you weren't good enough. So they have been attacking your core from the onset. And unfortunately, some of us fall into the trap and then officially believe it. And so that's why, to again swing it back to these ladies, especially for you and the men who are trying to pursue them and make all of that stuff happen, you have to make sure that whatever type of woman that you are bringing into your life, you have to make sure that she's doing more spiritual work than you. You have to. And it ain't because, again, no fault to their own self. It's because they are perpetually under attack. They are under the brainwashing to help them or make them feel that they are not enough. They feel it even worse. That's why this whole narrative, protect black women, became the focal point for Will Smith's event. It's Will Smith's event, but the focal point is protect black women. You see how the narrative has gotten taken and has gotten switched and has gotten flipped? It is done so because that's how they take you out of yourself. That's how they continuously make you feel less than. That's how they continuously give you the boot from your soul, kick you out of your crown chakra and knock you all the way down into the root of your spine. And you have to climb yourself all the way back up. And so you're not going to be able to climb yourself all the way back up if all you do is emotionally respond to every stimulus that is given to you. You can't be like Jada. You simply can't. You can't allow yourself to have your whole elevation, have your whole mood shifted and elevated because someone else poked you. We live in this super sophisticated, super pansy ass society now where everything is so soft, everything is so given to us. We're now at the point to where you're not even allowed to feel and allowed to think your own genuine emotions. You have to think and feel what the mob says. And if you don't think and do what the mob says, you will be wiped out and you will be excommunicated. And of course, no one wants to be excommunicated because being in community is a part of the human experience. So you have to now fight off the desires and the expectations of people who don't know how to get out of their emotional system. People who don't know how to actually process things on a deeper level. People who don't know that they are more than just their futile emotional system. We have to understand that for you as a black man living in this Western culture, living in this Western world, you don't have any friends, unfortunately. Hell, nobody really has friends, but you as a black man, you don't have any friends. You don't have anybody in your corner. You don't have the things that you quote unquote need to just feel normal. You have to actually do the things that are necessary for yourself. Oh, you say take responsibility for your actions? I got you, bro. I see the commentary. Yeah, that's a part of how they're shifting the culture now. That's a part of how they're shifting the culture now. They don't want people to take responsibility for their actions. They want everyone to deflect. They want everyone to create a new narrative. They want everybody to stay away from the center of themselves, create a new boogeyman, create a new ghost, create a new something to lord over your emotional system. And now you make that the object of your affection. You now make that the object of your importance. You now make that the object of your focus. Yeah, thank you, brother, for pointing that out, man. That's exactly how, again, we get to this whole fake narrative of protecting black women when it ain't even about that. This is about the frailty of the ego. Both of them are showing frailty. A person who's operating from the core of themselves in a larger perspective understands the context of when and where they are at all times. I'll even use a biblical scripture. There's old biblical scriptures that talk about being wise as a serpent, but as meek as a lamb. You have to be able to move in and out of situations. You have to be able to fucking go to Know where the fuck you at. Like, let's not even make it that goddamn grandiose or deep. Know where the fuck you at. If you out in public, you need to know how to move in public. If you in private, you need to know how to move in private. If you in court, you need to know how to move in court. Like, and we've as a culture, man, we do too much of this victim bullshit. How many times have I done been to court? Plenty of times. I go to court, I put on a suit because I know where I'm at. How many times you go to court, you see a brother walking there with his pants sagging, with a regular t-shirt on. Thank you, wise as a serpent, but harmless as a dove. Appreciate you, Dustin. Same thing. You got to be able to move through this thing. You have to be able to stay true to the core of your intention, but you also got to know where you at. And we looking at people advocating for this madness, for this nonsense. These are groups of people who have no tact. These are groups of people who do not understand the core of their being. Because if your emotional system is that out of whack, to where you have to respond in such a way to where it threatens everything that you have created, you are completely outside of your soul. You are completely outside of who you are supposed to be, because you were designed to complete the journey of your life. You were designed to finish whatever this goal and task is. You were not designed to go down the journey with the core of your being, acquire all of that shit, that this type of stuff that he has acquired, and then put all of it on the edge of going away. Do you know how stressful that is? Do you know how much that takes you out of your soul, out of your spirit? I'll say it. I will give you a direct example, because I'm going to close it on this. This is how I know that this stuff is true, because I was actually Will Smith before. I was actually in a very, very kind of similar situation. Go from the beginning of it. From the onset, operating outside of the core of my own being, not even living up to my potential, still being afraid to go do X, Y, Z that I need to go do. So because I'm operating on that level, I'm operating on that wavelength, everybody around me that I meet is a resonant reflection of where I'm at. I do get mad, but I know it's not when I need to. I know that's when I need to work on myself. Yes, good talk, brother. Exactly. Whenever you find yourself in heightened emotions, that is a call for you to work on that. That is not a call for you to react. That is a call for you to Rolodex that, put that in your memory banks, put that in your journal, go meditate on that shit. Why am I reacting? Why am I triggered? Why is this bothering me? That's how you're supposed to react to things that bother you, not fly off the goddamn handle. What I was previously saying with my own story, my own life, because I was not operating from the core of myself and how I know I could be, everybody who I met around me and let them in intimately, they were nothing more than a mirror example of that. They operate in the same low-level foolishness of themselves, lying to themselves about who and what they are, what their potential is, and what their true intention is. And I brought in a woman who was operating just like that. And in hindsight, we both thinking that we're bonding and we coming together. We finna have this grandiose plan and we finna do all of this work on our traumas and we finna move to Africa and move all this other shit. None of that was happening. What it was a bunch of trauma bonding. What it was a bunch of low vibrational avoidance from the both of us of who we are and what we need to be doing with ourselves. And we basically creating a nice misery circle together. Oh, look, don't that feel so much better? I'm now not alone in my misery. I'm now not alone in my strife. Now I'm not alone in the bullshit that I keep creating. Fast forward, get into the relationship. Things, of course, they become unfulfilling. I feel torn. I feel vexed. I feel out of space, out of place. Nothing that I want to manifest is going right. The business that I'm trying to get off the ground ain't going right. I'm starting to feel more stressed. Job ain't going right. Literally getting fired from spots. Ain't never been fired from a job before. Ever. First time ever, though. Getting fired and things are just going and things are just unraveling. The sex life with old girls started to bottom out. Everything was falling apart. And in response to that foolishness, instead of snakes really do observe everything. Talking about this in nature, it's an interesting dynamic. Yeah, they are the master observers. I'm pretty sure there's a snake in these trees up here somewhere. Never see it, but that motherfucker can see me. Anywho, Basically living a whole life of malaise, living a whole life of or a season in my life where nothing is right. And instead of doing what was necessary to move shorty out, get back on myself, get back on what I know I need to do, work on myself, get my vibration right, get my soul alignment back right, what do? I listen to her in her lovely cockamamie plan to, let's say, hey, let's expand our relationship since we're both unfulfilled with each other. And let's try some polyamorous bullshit. You know, because of course, if y'all find my page, I mean, I know y'all on social media, so we know all about that poly shit. We know about how people carry on and on and on about all that goofy shit. Reality, that shit ain't even what we. But that's a side note. Vast majority of those situations are just bullshit. There's a bunch of people who don't want to actually embrace the responsibility of dealing with somebody and going through the alchemical process of what it means to be under, not say extreme analysis, but to be in a situation where you can't hide from yourself because somebody can see you all the time. That's what a relationship is. All that poly shit is just a way to circumvent that in this modern era, how a lot of people are trying to do it. But anywho, again, she Jada, I'm Will. She Jada's me. And it was like, yeah, let's try this poly shit. How about we give that a go? How about we do that? So, of course, in my malaise and my low vibration, I agree to it. It ain't some shit that I actually really wanted, but I agree to it because I love my woman. I want to please my woman. I want to make sure that she's okay and that she feels right, because all of those moments that I had to endure with her in the home where she didn't feel right, it made the whole goddamn home feel terrible. We see this exact same situation with the Smiths. I mean, we all know the story. For anybody who's halfway invested in any of their crap, we know this. Like, this is literally the exact same thing. They both were unfulfilled with each other. They both were operating out of whoever they supposed to be. Now they don't like each other no more. But because they didn't have all of this water under the bridge, they settled for another option to try to make some shit work. And lo and behold, how it happened, just like with Will, it happened with me. I said, you know what? Let me do the poly thing. Let's just go see what happened. I'm actually hyped up and goosed up about it because I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I might be able to go get me some more vagina on the side. You know, let's go, man. This monogamy shit this shit's for the birds anyway, right? I'm trying to psych myself out. Come to, man, get 3-4 months into this, I can't find me a second woman for nothing. Every girl I talk to, don't nobody want to be the second woman. Don't nobody want to be the side piece. Don't nobody want to be the third wheel. Try after try after try after try after try after try after try again. All I found myself was being reinvited to the same unhealed, unprocessed trauma of feeling unwanted, feeling like I ain't good enough for women, feeling like I don't got the right thing to say, feeling like I'm not a ladies' man. All it did was invite me right back to that same trauma that I had not processed before, and brutally do so because I'm being shot down left and right while I'm also seeing the woman in my own life get propped up by all the other motherfuckers around. When I'm busy getting shot down, she on her 6th and 7th date. She on her 4th and 5th smoke session with some other dude she done just met. She's showing up with new clothes because somebody bought her an outfit. Like, all of this shit. I find myself being in a situation where she gets to be self-served. I'm serving her best interest. I'm propping her up. She's getting everything that she needs, everything that she wants, and it's literally coming at the expense of my own emotional system, my own psyche, my own well-being. And of course, just like Will Smith, I put on a nice show in front of the world that everything is great. A nice big show that everything's perfect. And just like this Oscar moment happened where he had to put on that big slap a nigga in the face on all of this cursing, I literally did the exact same thing inside of my own family. My cousin made a little jibby jab at old girl or me on Facebook, and I fucking exploded. Just like he did. I fucking exploded. I exploded all over that fucking Facebook post, writing crazy shit, long ass dissertations. I fucking called him, tried to cuss him out. I called his mother and literally called his mother and was cussing her out about him. Everybody in that whole quadrant of the family got to see me show my ass the same way Will Smith just did. Luckily for me, I had people in my corner who are also spirit-based, who are also larger picture-based, who are also way more centered to their core, They didn't jump on, yeah, that's right, Ahmad. You was defending your girl because your cousin talking crazy. Nobody said that. They all looked at me, said, you're acting out of character. What the hell is wrong with you? Because this is not who you are. This is very obvious. What the hell is wrong? And you know what? I had to fucking confess that something was wrong because I was stressed to my fucking eyeballs. Oh yeah, because I left out the part that I also agreed with to that poly shit in the midst of her fucking getting pregnant and then making the choice of aborting my kid. Like, I don't even have any children. This is going to be my first one. This is going to be, I finally have a lineage. I finally have an offspring. I finally got something to look forward to. And what happened? She squashed all that shit and then put me on a train of going to experience even more hell and more trauma. And the whole time oh, this is good. This is fine. Yes, this is, yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay. And so, operating outside of the core of my being led me to literally go have to get checked into counseling. It led me to losing my apartment. It led me to fucking getting my car repossessed. It led me to fucking literally losing my job. I lost everything. All got fucking washed away because I allowed myself to get into a space, an intimate space, with someone who was not matching my core vibration because I myself was not matching my core vibration. I myself was living based on the expectations that are placed on me because I'm supposed to have a woman by now. I'm supposed to have a wife by now. I'm supposed to have an XYZ by now. And because I'm falling into it, I start to accept it and feel the lack, feel the void. And instead of doing the continual work to put myself in position to be the person who I know I could be, to get what I know I need to get, I find myself with people who are aiding my own destruction. And not because they are bad people, because they are simply the people who don't align with who I truly, truly, truly am. And so, we all got to do this work, man. And I'm just saying this as a statement going forward, because again, like I said earlier in this video, a line is being drawn in the sand, y'all. We are looking at an opportunity for us to elevate our way of thinking, to elevate our processing, and to make sure that we are doing what we need to do to take the fucking high road, yo. This low road mentality is gonna wipe us all out. Most of us come from a hood somewhere. We know what low road mentality does. It gets you in jail. Go slap somebody in the street right now on this Will and Jada shit. What the fuck gonna happen? You going to jail. Go do that at work with the person who you don't like. You losing your job. Like, we cannot advocate infantile reactions for adult grown people, especially if we call ourselves people who are spiritual, especially if we call ourselves God's chosen people and the ancestors and all of this bullshit. You ain't none of those things. You are not a queen. You are not a king. You are a goddamn pawn. If you think being responsive to your emotions like a child is actually higher minded and is actually a part of the essence of your soul progression. In your soul progression in your daily life, you go from a kid to an adult. Your body does it. So you need to do it with your mind and your emotional system as well. Otherwise, you're going to continuously be spinning your wheels, having an unfulfilled life, and you're going to. And the part of the reason why you will feel unfulfilled is not because the logistics of your life suck, which also aids into it. It's because your own internal psyche is telling you that you ain't living out your real being. So in order to get out of the expectations mode, get out of this expectations mind, get out of this, I'm a black man, so I need to do this, that, and the third mind, you need to go get into the mirror. You need to go stare at a black dot. You need to go scry on a black wall. You need to go journal. You need to separate yourself from those men and women who are either influencing you to not honor your spirit and or to go do things that you know ain't for you. That's just basically a waste of your time. People who are critical of you and can't see who you really are. Whatever the hell it is that you got going on around you, because you know what it is. I don't have to fucking keep bringing up examples. You hear the vibration coming out of my goddamn voice. I'm speaking to your solar plexus and your heart. So that shit is beaming right now. You know what you're avoiding. You know what you were not doing. You know what you fucking need to go do. Let Will Smith and Jada be an invitation for you to finally go do the shit. That's all. Love y'all. Catch you next time.